What if everything you've been told about self-improvement is a lie? What if, instead of making you stronger, smarter, and happier, it's making you more anxious, more lost, and more disconnected from yourself? We live in a world obsessed with optimization, where every second must be productive, every flaw must be fixed, and every moment must be used for growth. But here's the paradox. The more you try to be better, the worse you feel. Because no matter how much you improve, it's never enough. So today we're diving deep into the dark side of self-improvement, why the very thing meant to help you could actually be holding you back. And by the end of this, you might just rethink everything you know about what it truly means to grow. For most of us, self-improvement seems like the ultimate good. We're told that progress equals happiness, that the more we improve, the more successful and fulfilled we'll become. Books, courses, and motivational speeches preach the same message. Become more disciplined, wake up earlier, hustle harder, optimize everything. And so we chase an ideal, some future version of ourselves that is smarter, more productive, and more successful. But there's a problem. No matter how much you improve, it's never enough. You wake up earlier and still feel behind. You work harder and still feel inadequate. You achieve a goal and instantly set a new one. The pursuit of self-improvement can become a trap, a cycle of never feeling good enough. Instead of growing, you become obsessed. Instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel restless. So today we're going to question this idea, because maybe self-improvement isn't always progress. Maybe in some cases, it's just another way to avoid actually living. This isn't a new idea. Some of history's greatest thinkers warned us about this, that blind self-improvement can be just as dangerous as stagnation. Nietzsche warned against the trap of constantly chasing an ideal self, losing who you truly are in the process. Carl Jung argued that rejecting parts of yourself in pursuit of perfection creates inner conflict, not growth. Even Taoist philosophy teaches that forcing progress can backfire, that sometimes the best way to grow is to let go. So today we're going to challenge everything you've been told about self-improvement. Because if you're always trying to be better, when do you actually become yourself? We are told that self-improvement is the key to a better life, that if we just push a little harder, optimize every habit, and eliminate every flaw, we will finally reach our full potential. But what if this pursuit is actually breaking us? For many, the obsession with being better becomes a never-ending struggle, a war against the self. It starts with good intentions, a desire to be more productive, more disciplined, more successful. But over time, improvement turns into pressure. The pressure to always be improving, to always be working, to always be perfect. The result? Burnout, anxiety, a constant feeling of not being enough. Consider someone who wants to maximize their productivity. They wake up at 5 a.m., follow a strict morning routine, track their habits, and try to squeeze every drop of efficiency out of their day. But instead of feeling fulfilled, they feel exhausted. Instead of making progress, they feel like they're falling behind. Why? Because perfection has no finish line. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. The idea that no matter how much we achieve, our expectations keep rising. We always want more, always feel like we need to do better. The very act of chasing self-improvement traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The paradox is clear. The harder we try to become our best selves, the more we reject who we are right now. And when self-improvement turns into self-rejection, the journey no longer makes us better, it makes us miserable. In the age of social media, self-improvement is no longer just about getting better. It's about keeping up with the people who seem more productive, more successful, more disciplined. Platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter have turned growth into a competition. Every day we are bombarded with influencers who wake up at dawn, work out for 2 hours, meditate, journal, and run million-dollar businesses all before breakfast. And the worst part? We believe it. We believe that these people have unlocked the secrets of success, that they have disciplined their way into a perfect life. What we don't see is the carefully curated illusion. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer warned about the dangers of comparison long before social media existed. He believed that envy is one of the greatest sources of human suffering. When we compare ourselves to others, we don't measure our own growth. We measure how far we are from an impossible standard. The irony is that self-improvement was supposed to be about personal growth, but in the digital age, it has become a performance. People don't just want to improve, they want to be seen improving. They want to document their routines, post their achievements, and gain validation. But here's the truth. When you measure your life against someone else's highlight reel, you will always feel inadequate. No matter how much you improve, there will always be someone doing more. Real growth doesn't come from comparing yourself to others. It comes from understanding yourself. And that is something no amount of external validation can ever give you. The biggest paradox of self-improvement is that in the pursuit of becoming better, many people lose themselves. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, warned about this phenomenon through his concept of the shadow. He believed that every person has a hidden side, a part of themselves they reject, suppress, or ignore. This shadow contains all the traits we think are unacceptable. Our fears, our insecurities, our desires that don't fit into the perfect version of ourselves. And in the world of self-improvement, we are told that these things must be eliminated. We suppress our anger because it makes us look weak. We hide our doubts because they don't fit into a mindset of confidence. We reject our flaws because we believe that success requires perfection. But Jung argued that what we suppress only grows stronger. The more we try to eliminate our imperfections, the more they control us. This is why so many people on the path of self-improvement feel disconnected, because in trying to build a better version of themselves, they have abandoned who they really are. Consider this. If you spend years trying to mold yourself into the perfect person, and then one day you succeed, who exactly have you become? Is that person truly you, or just a construct of what you think you should be? Jung's philosophy teaches us that true self-improvement isn't about eliminating the parts of yourself you don't like. It's about understanding and integrating them. The more we embrace our flaws, the more we realize that they are not weaknesses, they are parts of our identity. Real growth doesn't come from rejecting your shadow. It comes from accepting it. Because in the end, the goal of self-improvement isn't to become someone else. It's to become fully yourself. Self-improvement promises clarity, but for many it creates the opposite, paralysis. We live in an era where self-improvement is no longer just about discipline or hard work. It has become an endless menu of options. Want to be more productive? Try a morning routine, the Pomodoro technique, deep work strategies, or habit stacking. Want to be happier? Practice mindfulness, gratitude journaling, dopamine detoxing, or visualization. The options are endless, and that's the problem. Psychologists call this the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the harder it is to commit. Instead of picking one path and sticking with it, we constantly jump between strategies, convinced that the next method will be the one that finally works. Consider someone trying to become more productive. They start with a basic planner, but then hear about Notion and decide to switch. Then they hear about bullet journaling, so they try that. Then they discover a new app promising maximum efficiency and switch again. The result? They spend more time setting up systems than actually doing the work. And this is where self-improvement turns into a trap. The more we chase optimization, the less we accomplish. We start to believe that success is just one more strategy away, one more book, one more course, one more system. But in reality, progress isn't about finding the perfect method. It's about picking one and committing to it. The truth is, self-improvement doesn't fail because people lack motivation. It fails because people never stop searching and start doing. The irony of self-improvement is that the people who obsess over it the most often take the least action. This happens because the more you think about improving, the harder it becomes to start. Every decision feels too important. Every step feels like it needs to be perfect. And suddenly, instead of making progress, you're stuck analyzing all the possible ways to make progress. This is called analysis paralysis. The ancient Stoics understood this problem thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote, "Think less of what should be done and just do it." Stoicism teaches that overthinking is the enemy of action. You don't need to perfect your plan before you start. You just need to start. But today's self-improvement culture encourages the opposite. It tells you to optimize every detail, find the best strategy, and calculate every risk before taking the first step. And the result? People spend years preparing but never executing. Consider someone who wants to start a business. They spend months reading books on entrepreneurship, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and making detailed plans. But when it's time to actually start, to launch the product, to make the first sale, they freeze. Why? Because no amount of preparation removes fear. No amount of planning eliminates uncertainty. The most successful people in history didn't wait until they were fully ready. They started before they were ready, made mistakes, and adjusted along the way. So if you're stuck in endless preparation, ask yourself, are you actually improving or just delaying the moment you have to take action? Because self-improvement without action isn't growth. It's just another form of procrastination. Self-improvement is supposed to help people take control of their lives, but for many it does the exact opposite. Because the self-improvement industry thrives on keeping people feeling inadequate. Think about it. If a self-help book actually solved all your problems, you wouldn't need another one. If a motivational seminar actually transformed your life, you wouldn't need to keep attending them. But that's not how the industry works. Instead, self-help sells you the idea that you are always one step away from success. One more book, one more course, one more strategy. And so people become addicted, not to improvement, but to the illusion of improvement. They consume endless motivational content, but never apply what they learn. They watch videos on confidence, but never step out of their comfort zone. They read books on discipline, but never act on their goals. Why? Because self-improvement gives them a feeling of progress without actual progress. This is why some people spend years trapped in self-help loops, always learning, never doing, because deep down they don't want to improve. They want to feel like they're improving. And that's the harsh truth. Real self-improvement is uncomfortable. It requires taking risks, facing failure, and stepping into the unknown. No book, no video, no course can do that for you. At some point, you have to stop consuming advice and start applying it. Because if self-improvement isn't leading to action, then it's not really improvement at all. It's just another distraction. For most of us, self-improvement is rooted in one belief: I am not enough as I am. We try to optimize every aspect of ourselves, our habits, our productivity, our mindset, constantly chasing an ideal version of who we think we should be. But what if this endless quest for self-improvement is actually a form of self-rejection? Friedrich Nietzsche had a radical answer to this. He called it amor fati, the love of fate. Instead of constantly trying to fix or change yourself, what if you embraced everything about yourself, exactly as you are? Nietzsche believed that true power comes not from resisting life's difficulties or rejecting our flaws, but from fully accepting them, the failures, the imperfections, the struggles, all of it. Because here's the truth, there will always be something you could improve. You will never be perfect, and no amount of optimization will make life completely free of hardship. So instead of treating every weakness as a flaw to be eradicated, what if you saw them as part of your story? Take a moment to reflect. The things you criticize about yourself, what if they are not failures, but just natural parts of being human? The struggles you try to overcome, what if they are not obstacles, but lessons? Self-improvement tells us to constantly chase an ideal, but real growth comes from embracing reality. Because the moment you stop fighting yourself, you finally become free. Most people think of growth as getting somewhere, becoming smarter, stronger, more successful. But what if growth isn't about reaching a goal at all? In Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, which translates to effortless action. It teaches that sometimes the best way to improve is not by trying harder, but by letting go. Think about nature. A river doesn't force itself to flow. It moves effortlessly with the landscape. A tree doesn't try to grow. It simply follows its natural path. And yet, in their own way, they are perfectly efficient. Now contrast that with how we approach self-improvement. We push, we struggle, we try to force change. But in doing so, we often create more resistance. The Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear?" This is the essence of real growth. Instead of endlessly chasing a future version of yourself, what if you simply lived fully in the present? Think about it. The best decisions you've ever made, did they come from forcing an answer or from trusting your instincts? The times you felt happiest, was it because you finally reached some imaginary goal or because you simply let yourself be? Self-improvement tells us that happiness is always one step away. But what if happiness is already here? If we stop trying so hard to find it, the self-improvement trap is hard to escape because it feels productive. Watching another video, reading another book, planning another system, it all gives a sense of progress. But here's the problem. If you're always trying to fix yourself, when do you actually live? So here's a challenge. Try doing less. Number 1, reduce self-help overconsumption. Pick one book, one principle, and stick with it. Stop endlessly searching for new answers. Number 2, shift from fixing to experiencing. Instead of asking, how can I improve? Ask, how can I fully experience this moment? Number 3, embrace imperfection. The things you judge in yourself, what if they don't need to be fixed? Here's the final question. What if the real secret to a better life isn't more improvement, but more acceptance? Because sometimes the best way to change your life is to stop trying to change it. After everything we've explored, the question remains, is self-improvement truly about becoming better, or have we turned it into another form of self-rejection? We started this journey with a paradox, the idea that trying to improve yourself might actually make you worse. And now looking back, we see why. Chasing perfection leads to burnout. Comparison turns growth into competition. Too many choices create paralysis. Endless optimization becomes a distraction from actually living. But most importantly, self-improvement was never meant to be a way to fix yourself. It should be a tool, not an obsession. Think of it like sharpening a blade. You refine it so it serves a purpose. But if you keep sharpening endlessly without ever using it, eventually the blade wears down to nothing. That's what happens when self-improvement becomes the goal instead of the means. Maybe the real lesson is this. You don't need to be perfect to be valuable. You don't need to fix everything before you start living. And maybe you don't need to improve as much as you think you do. Self-improvement is a journey, but a journey is only meaningful if you actually stop and experience the world along the way. So, what does it actually mean to be better? Most people think it means more successful, more disciplined, more productive. But who decided that? Maybe being better isn't about changing yourself. Maybe it's about accepting yourself fully. Take the wisdom of Lao Tzu, who wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Or Nietzsche, who said, "Become who you are." The greatest thinkers didn't tell us to fix ourselves into perfection. They told us to embrace the reality of who we are. So instead of constantly chasing some future version of yourself, what if you focused on fully experiencing the present, lived in alignment with what actually brings you fulfillment, accepted that growth happens naturally when you stop forcing it? That's the real self-improvement. Not becoming someone else, but becoming yourself fully. So I'll leave you with one final question. What if the best version of you is the one that stops trying so hard to improve? What if you already have everything you need, right now? Maybe the real path to a better life isn't about adding more, but letting go. Letting go of the pressure, letting go of the guilt, letting go of the need to always be better. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just live. Transformation isn't in doing more, but in finally allowing yourself to just be. So the next time you feel the urge to chase another goal, fix another flaw, or optimize another moment, pause. Ask yourself, are you improving or just running from yourself? Because real growth doesn't come from endlessly chasing an ideal. It comes from embracing who you already are. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you're ready to see self-improvement from a whole new perspective, make sure to subscribe for more.